I think this Friday night show is going to grow on you a little bit.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
So, you know, after the Super Tuesday results and, you know, pretty conscientious program with the state police superintendent last night, and it's been a different week. You know, we had the high school March Madness on Tuesday night. We might as well add a little bit more spice on a Friday night, and this is what these programs sometimes are called Lexi Specials. When my producer Lexi Chris says, you have got to meet this person and talk with them, Chubby, and I always say, okay, Lexi, because she's right, and she's always right, and so I'm looking forward to meeting Fred Jackson, who is the director of the Plant Environmental Center and a teaching associate at Brown University. He's got a lot going on, and I think you're going to find this fun. You're going to find out what Ethno Botany is, by the way. And if you know what Ethno Botany is, I'm very impressed. How about this headline to start the broadcast? The Brown Daily Herald. It's the roots I'm interested in, says Fred. So Fred is a teacher and a musician. We might get a little harmonica tonight, so stay tuned for that. But Lexi thinks Fred is kind of like, you know, Professor Sprout.
Morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Professor Sprout. Welcome to Greenhouse 3 second years. Now gather round, everyone. Today we're going to repot mandrakes. Who here can tell me the properties of the mandrake root? Yes, Miss Granger.
Mandrake, or mandragora, is used to return those who've been petrified to their original state. It's also quite dangerous. The mandrake's cry is fatal to anyone who hears it.
Excellent. 10 points to Gryffindor. Now, as our mandrakes are still only seedlings, their cries won't kill you yet, but they could knock you out for several hours, which is why I've given each of you a pair of earmuffs for auditory protection. So could you please put them on right away? Quickly. Flaps tight down and watch me closely. You grasp your mandrake firmly, you pull it sharply out of the pot.
How's your technique?
Well, it's probably like that. I always tell people, I said, you don't have to be very fragile with plants. They can take a little bit of roughness.
My
you know what I mean?
my daughter's going to be thrilled. My daughter's 21 and has been begging me to watch Harry Potter for all these years, and I'm through the 4th movie, and that is before the end of the 4th movie, so I have 3 more to go. So I'm killing a bunch of birds with one stone, or pulling a lot of plants at the same time, seems to me. Nice to meet you, Fred.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks.
I really appreciate
you
you
canceled
asking me.
class at Brown just to come over here, which is a great thing.
Well, yeah, I better not let the administration hear that.
No, I mean, no. There was a reschedule of the class.
I'll make it up.
Yes. Way to go, Dan. Way to blow the cover right off the top of the show.
No, that's cool. But you know, you're showing Emma Watson. She was, you know, she's one of the illustrious alumni of Brown, and she was scouting my class out because I teach about medicinal plants, and I remember she didn't use her real name. She used I think it was her mother's maiden name or something. She didn't use Emma Watson when she was, you know, trying to get into certain classes. Really? And so finally, I let her in the class. I didn't know who she was. I'd never seen a Harry Potter movie, so I had no idea. And everybody goes, Professor Jackson, Emma's in our class. You know, what's her name?
Watson.
Yeah, whatever her name is in Harry Potter.
What's her name?
Hermione. Hermione.
And
I said, yeah, and then they said Emma Watson. I said, who's Emma Watson? And anyway, she stayed. She would actually.
She probably thanked you for that.
No, she would. I would have probably been really harsh on her as far as all the, you know, magical stuff and things of that nature, especially with Mandrake, things of that nature. You know, because I teach about those kind of things.
So did she take the class?
She took it a couple of weeks, but I found out later she would enroll in all these classes, see how it was, and then she'd drop out. You know, she'd like just check out all these different classes. That's what I heard, and so she didn't stay in the class, unfortunately. So I didn't have a chance to.
Well, we don't have to sit here and review her
hey,
record,
whatever, you know what I mean?
but she did graduate, didn't she?
She did graduate. Yeah, she did. Yeah.
By kind of sampling classes.
Yeah. Well, no, she did. I don't want to.
Right.
You know,
I mean,
she did the whole thing.
Everything was done by the drop date.
Yeah. Well,
right. You know,
exactly.
adding and dropping.
I
you
mean,
know,
you
the
have
wonderfulness of college education.
You have
can
to
do
fulfill your requirements,
right.
and there's no question about that.
So tell me about yourself. You are, you actually have created, you're like an entrepreneurial educator. You've got your own gig going on at Brown University.
Well, I've been very fortunate. Brown has been my home for the last almost 25 years, and my background is really horticulture, you know, greenhouses and that type of thing, and I was fortunate enough to take a job at Brown. They needed someone to run their greenhouses I work for the ecology department, to overlook and to manage their research projects. And I was fortunate enough to get the job, and ever since then I just kept on going and going and learning new things, and new doors opened up. And one thing about Brown is if it's something that they feel that can help them, or help their curriculum, or make them look good, they'll let you run with it. And I basically ran with it. And
so there's kind of an entrepreneurial spirit there.
It is a spirit there. Working as a greenhouse manager for a few years, I decided I was always intrigued by South American plants, tropical plants. I worked in Florida for a number of years growing tropical plants in the 70s, and for these big commercial greenhouses. In fact, one was owned by Chiquita Banana. This is way back in the early 70s. And my wife and I just kind of went down there like a couple of hillbillies, and just loaded our trailer, went down there, and I took a job, and both my sons were born down there. But in any case, I was always intrigued with tropical plants, and I had an opportunity to go to Costa Rica with an organization, and it really opened my eyes, because I met a woman that was an herbalist in an indigenous tribe that was down there, and she was working with medicinal plants and healing people with certain plants. And I said, wow, this is really cool stuff. And that's where the Ethno Botany comes in. That's basically what Ethno Botany is.
Ethno Botany means?
Ethno meaning the people, indigenous people, right. Botany, and it's how indigenous people, and it could be like Eskimos, wherever the local place is, how people utilize and use plants for medicine, for food, for shelter, for just about everything. Because they're not going to run to Home Depot. I've been to the Amazon, and believe me, it's like 100 years. You're in a time machine, and you go back 100 years, and there's no electricity. There's nothing like this, and people they depend on these, especially the medicine aspect of it. They can't run to the clinic, and they do have a clinic occasionally close by, but they're pretty much on their own. And it was just amazing. I mean, the Amazon was amazing, and just meeting the shamans. And you talk about shaman. What's a shaman? Well, it's a shaman is a healer that will use certain plants to be in touch with the spirit world in order to heal you. And I have to say, the types of plants that the person he'll try to heal in himself are usually psychoactive plants. And so that opens up a whole nother
psychoactive plant
meaning hallucinogenic type plants.
Right.
And
so it's a little like acid, LSD.
Well,
type of
I tell you, it's funny. There is a drink that they take in many parts of South America. It's called Ayahuasca, and I'm sure some of the listeners have heard this. And basically, it's made from 2 or 3 different plants, and it's a drink, and it's generally taken at night. And it really, it's very hallucinogenic, it's very powerful. Some people have actually seen things like 2 snakes together, which resemble the DNA structure, and crazy things like that. And it's all meant to heal the person. And you take this trip with this.
Do you buy into this stuff?
Yes, I do. I do buy into it.
Hold your thought. We got to pause. We'll come back.
Yeah.
All right. Why he buys in, and a little entertainment across, over the course of the show, because he's got a band called Professor Roots. Who would have thought? Stay with us. so this is the band, Professor Roots. Well, so the harmonica guy gets to kind of name the whole band? That's
No, actually, I didn't. The other guys decided to call it Professor Roots.
Oh, they did?
No, I kind of stayed.
In honor of you?
No, I guess they call me Professor Roots.
Where do you guys play?
We play usually, most of the time, at the Parlor. It's a small club. They have funk, they have reggae. It's actually down on North Main Street, just down the hill from Miriam Hospital. It used to be the backstop of the penalty box or something like that. And we've been playing there for about a year now. We just had our year anniversary, and it's just a great little club.
Most weekends?
No, what we do is we play a Friday night, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and everybody comes out. It's not a late night gig, and a lot of people don't. We used to do gigs at Lupo's. We used to open up for all my other band previous to this. And now we wouldn't get home till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean? You get to our stage. You know
Whoa,
what?
I'm getting a little old for that.
You get out a little early, you know, home tucked in by 10:30. That's not so bad.
You know,
all right, so listen, we got to focus here.
Go ahead.
You are a professor of what?
Well,
will we say botany?
Botany. I mean,
you're working on your PhD in what?
In pharmacology.
Okay, pharmacology.
Pharmacology.
Interesting. This is all going to tie together, I know.
Oh yeah.
You have your master's in teaching, so it's not. I mean, you're game on over there, Brown. How many students do you see a year in terms of just you know?
Well, I teach 2 classes. You know, they're freshman seminars, usually 20 students, and I am an advisor, concentrating advisor. So I'm in touch with students.
And you're directing research.
Right. I mean, I'm with people because of the research aspect. You try to set up experiments, and my manager and I both do this, you know, together, and we I mean, art classes. I mean, we get a lot of things.
So you've been around, and I asked you the question about after your trips to the Amazon and the like, and you're talking about some of these psychedelic plants and the like. So you believe in the medicinal healing of plants, correct?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Now, are we talking about the herbs that you'd buy in a health store? Or are we talking about a whole different ballgame? What are we talking about?
No, we're talking about a lot of these herbs you buy in the store. You know, they're not FDA approved. That's why you won't see a lot of this herbal medicine.
Careful.
And you got to be careful, just like anything else. You can't take 2 or 3 different types of herbs together, because the compounds in these herbs could be either alkaloids or phenolic compounds. They're all different classes, and they could collide.
Well, what advice do you have for people?
My advice is to, I mean, if you had, terminal cancer, I wouldn't say go to the herbal shop and try to, find the remedies. I mean, there's a place for everything. I mean, let me just step back 1 minute. Most of the medicines we use today were once plant-based, like aspirin. That was from the white willow bark. Okay, and so there's a lot of things. Digitalis is from the perennial digitalis. I mean, that's used, for your heart. So a lot of these things. But what happens is they found out what the compounds were, the chemists, and then they just made it in the lab, and that's where the pills come up. So a lot of people feel that things like plants directly taken from the plant itself are better. You know what I mean? And I would say that, for colds and certain ailments, herbs and medicinal plants can help. They definitely can help.
Listen,
it just kind of opens, it's just an alternative.
Well, they have an impact. I'm going to tell you a short, funny story. Not that it's at your level of experience. I don't know, I may have told the staff this story here, but about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe longer, I started drinking tea during the radio program.
Green tea?
Well, in this particular case, I was drinking, my mother-in-law was in town and said, you should drink this stuff, and it was the stuff that makes you sleepy. Makes you sleepy. Chamomile.
Oh, chamomile, okay.
So it's a big issue. The lines are exploding. They're pulsing off the board. Da da da. I mean, I got a whole big thing going on, and I'm sipping this tea.
Right.
As the show's wearing on, about an hour and a half into the show, I said, listen, I don't want anyone to panic on that side of the window or on that side of the radio, but I don't know what we're talking about. My brain has just stopped. I think I can function. I don't want anybody calling an ambulance. Just don't do anything, but I think it could be the tea, but here's what I'm telling you. Past knowing that I'm drinking tea and that I'm on the radio, I can't think about anything, and I don't remember what we're speaking about.
Oh my God.
And, you know, people are freaking going, oh my God, he's having something. I said, clear off the lines. I apologize to everybody. It was some burning issue. All the lines go clear. I said, has anybody ever experienced this thing I'm going through right now? Reload, the phones re-explode. Everyone's telling me about their experience with herbs and chamomile tea and all that kind of thing. Okay. So I am convinced about the impact of that kind of stuff, and that's at a very low level compared to what I'm sure your expertise can speak to.
You know, you have
Sorry for the long story, but that kind of legitimizes my feeling about whatever you're going to tell me. I'm sure there's some stuff going on.
No, you have to. I mean, there are compounds in these plants, and these compounds are the medicine in the plant. And most of the time, for years and years and years, botanists and ecologists thought that these compounds, you know, were just waste products of the plant. But actually, they're defense mechanisms. For example, how many times have you planted garlic in your garden to ward off insects and things of that nature? Well, they give off sulfur compounds. It's another type of medicinal compound. They are defense mechanisms to keep herbivory or other insects away. But man, in his infinite wisdom, way back, you know, a gabillion years ago, realized that these plants have value. Malaria, cinchona, okay, quinine. When Cortez came to the new land, he noticed that the people would drink from certain little ponds, and that animals would drink from these areas where these trees had fallen over, where these certain trees which had medicinal value, which is where they get quinine from, the cinchona bark of this particular tree. So the point I'm trying to make is that there are secondary compounds, there are plants that have these medicinal attributes to these, but here again, it's all about dose. You can't take too much, just like anything else. And you have to take the right dose for you. But there's nothing really.
How do people get advice on what medicinal application?
You would have to go to a natural homeopathic person or a person that deals with herbal
and they're
plants.
Legit.
They are legit now, definitely legit. I mean, even acupuncturists and people that do natural homeopathic medicine, they are in tune with all these things, and they're not going to give you anything that's, they want to know what's wrong with you. They're going, if you're on a high blood pressure medicine, chemical high blood pressure, regular pills, they're not going to give you something that's going to counteract that. Or, I mean, it's just like everything else. You can't just pop these. This is where a lot of people run into problems. They say, oh, I'm going to take this herbal medicine, and they're taking, 2 or 3 different types of pills. Just like anything else, you have to know what you're taking. The chamomile tea, I don't know, maybe after you drink, 10 cups of it, the compound in it,
by the way, the moral of the story is in about an hour, it wore off.
Okay, well, yeah.
And I remembered what we were originally talking about, and we went back to the other thing, and it was fine. But it was just a moment in time
that it just kind of
caught
went, up with you.
Holy cow! I'm brain stopped. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. No,
anyway.
It is a whole new thing. I mean, they're embracing this whole herbal medicine and just about every. I'm looking at the Chinese. I've been working with it for centuries, but they know exactly what is going to work for you, and you have to abide by what they tell you, just like your regular family doctor. Taking these things on your own, you have to make sure that you're reading up on the information, that you're not doing something that's going to counteract with something else, just like anything else.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean? And like green tea, I mean, antioxidants in green tea, things like that. Or kava, you heard of kava, and that has a very numbing effect on you. And say, why would I want to take this? And people in the Pacific, specifically the island of Vanuatu, they drink it, they grow it, and they drink it, and they grow it, and they drink it. That's all they do, and they don't get a heck of a lot done except growing kava. But everything has its particular. All herbal medicines have a particular niche where they're going to heal you on specific things.
I'm sold. I wonder what my
your doctor might not like
what my internist would say about that.
He might not.
He's going to play some harmonica. I made him go get the. I made him go out in the park.
And this is even my best. Wow,
stay tuned.
God.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Right.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. the professor on a Friday night when he's not teaching about pharmacology and botany and ethno botany and all those kind of things. You've got a very interesting life.
I've been really fortunate. I'm not saying lucky because I had to work hard. People, hey Fred, you're lying. I worked my butt off. We all do. You know, if you wanted something that you want, and I've been really fortunate. And like I said, Brown really opened up a lot of doors for me, and I was very fortunate to get the position and to kind of get into the position I am now, where I can teach students and study about medicinal plants and.
So you bring your harmonica into class every once in a while?
For a while there, I used to make it mandatory for my students to go to my gigs, but I think that was pushing it a little bit.
Well, if you were between an A and a B, would have been you know, attendance might have been.
It's funny. It's a funny story, but I had I taught a freshman class last year, and we had a gig at the Park Cinema to open up for the Whalers, you know, minus Bob, of course. And a couple of my students showed up, and I'm outside talking. All of a sudden, I see them on the tour bus with the Whalers. I said, "What are you two doing?" And they said, "Oh, we're getting a ride back to Providence." I said, "You better be careful, you know, these Rastas here, you know what I mean?"
Right.
You know, but it was
put them in a funny
it's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun.
So where are you going with this career and your PhD, and where's Brown headed in terms of this study of plants and medicine and the research? Well, define for me for just a second before I ask you to play, before we go on. What are you trying to accomplish with your research?
What I'm trying, actually, my research right now is on a medicinal plant from Africa. It's called Mandia, and it's used all over the continent, and it's an endangered plant. I got very interested. One of the students brought this, when she was studying in Kenya, brought this back, and I started growing it. It was a very interesting plant, and it's used for, you know, it's anti-malaria. It's used as for malnutrition for kids. It's a Viagra type of plant for the old folks. The men really like that.
Oh, so you're on that all the time, aren't you?
No. But anyway, but I found that really an interesting plant, and that's what I'm going to finish. I'm going to finish my studies with that, my research with that, and then I'd like to do a little, write a few grants and still travel around.
So let me just, in case, because people are going to be curious.
Go ahead.
They probably think that you're on all sorts of herbal medicinal things, like you've got 36 concoctions you wake up with in the morning. Truth is, you don't take any of it, do you?
I try not to.
You study it.
Yeah, I study it.
But you don't take any
I don't want to take any. I don't need anything yet.
Yeah. Little echinacea every once in a while.
Something
maybe
like
a little
that.
tea,
Yeah,
whatever.
A little tea, but right now,
you're not.
I think,
you're not like, wrapping plants around your head and smoking them or something.
No, no.
Whatever.
But that brings us to another point. I mean, with this whole marijuana thing, that's kind of a whole.
That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show.
Play me the harmonica on the way out.
Right. Are we out of here?
We got about a half a minute left in your segment, so give me something.
Harmonica.
Yeah, but listen, you got it out of the car. It was in the trunk, for heaven's sake.
No,
Professor Jackson. It's a pleasure to have met you.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thanks,
I really appreciate it. Come by the greenhouse. I'll give you a little tour.
Yes, I'll learn about all sorts of.
Show you a lot of different plants.
Interesting remedies.
Right.
Maybe I can see Emma Watson. I don't know. She's
long gone.
Last word, when we come back. Stay with us. It's just fun to meet new people in the community. That's another Lexi home run. Lexi Chris, my producer. You want to get in touch with us and convince Lexi that you ought to come on and just kind of tell us your story, like Professor Jackson? Just go to foxprovidence.com, Dan Yorke State of Mind, and contact us that way. All right? You have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday, of course, and we'll see you on the radio at noon until 3 on WPRO. It's an honor having you watching. Good night.